Fly Swatter Network asks, what do you think about Disneyquest closing? That right there, that's what I think. Hello everybody and welcome to the Disney Q&A, the series where you give me all sorts of Disney questions, whether it's about the history or the parks or the movies, and I try to give you answers to the best of my ability. So we're going to kick it off with that question at the top. What do I think about Disneyquest closing? Now, Christine and I went over this a little bit more in detail in the latest episode of the TTA, the Disney podcast that we do. But in short, I really just don't care either way. Like, I don't care about it closing, and I also don't care about what's coming, which is the NBA experience. This has been long rumored for a while, but it's finally been confirmed by Disney that it's going to happen. And I don't think we're losing anything of real value in this. I also don't think we're getting anything of real value through this either. The Disneyquest, I think, as a complete concept, was the victim of its own concept. You know, Disneyquest was the idea, it was supposed to be like an indoor theme park where everything was sort of digital, and it was, you know, this was the late 90s, early 2000s, where I think computer culture was something that all these companies were trying to grab onto and embrace. And I think that's cool in theory. The real problem comes with how fast technology moves. You know, a lot of the people who think fondly about Disneyquest from when they were younger, you know, they've got that nostalgia, that's great and everything. But the technology there just got old really fast. And at the end of the day, there's nothing that I think Disneyquest offers that you couldn't get a better experience through, like, video games or computer games, or, you know, now with the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive, you can get better experiences in your own home. And so Disney's not the sort of company, I think, that would spend the amount of money required to keep an idea like Disneyquest up to date all the time. So probably better that it's just closing. That said, if you're a basketball fan, NBA experience, that's awesome. You're going to have a lot of fun with it, I'm sure. I'm not a basketball fan, so I don't really care. My idea has always been that I thought that building would have been fantastic for like a really large, in-depth museum about Walt and Disney and the Disney company history and maybe Disney World. And you can put, you know, all sorts of stuff from like Walt's history to, you know, putting ride vehicles from retired rides in there. Just the sort of thing to teach people about Disney World. But I recognize that that's not like a mainstream desire, so I'm not surprised that they're not going to do anything like that. Our next question comes from Carson Crockett. Carson asks, do you find your Disney trips less or more enjoyable when you are focusing on recording footage for the channel? Does your recording take away from your experience? This is a great question, because I think depending on the type of person you are, you're going to have a different answer out of that. I think for some people, it would seem like a lot of work, and it would seem like it takes away from their vacation. Personally, I love it. I think it actually enriches my trips, and I look forward to this trip for all of the recording I was going to be doing. And I think it's just because it forces me to approach Disney in a different perspective. You know, normally with a vacation, you just sort of go with it, and you do what you do, and you have fun, and it's a great way to do it. But as recording for like vlogs and stuff, I find myself approaching each day with like, all right, what are the stories being told as we're on vacation? And how do I best capture that story so I can tell it to you guys later? And coming from like film school and, you know, enjoying editing and enjoying, you know, media in general, that's a lot of fun for me to figure out on the fly as we're going. You know, do I need to record this? Do I think this would work well in a vlog? Would, you know, thinking about, I think the important thing is we don't change our plans for the vlog. I shoot around what we're going to do. I think that's where it would get unfun if I'm like, oh, well, you know, we can't go on the Great Movie Ride because that's boring in a vlog. You know, that's when it becomes a problem. But we just go with it, and then I record as much as possible and find the story out of that. And so that's a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing it. And I'll probably keep doing it as we go to all these other places, and all these other Disney trips, but then just other places in general. I think it's a fun way to like look at life. Our next question comes from Disney and Nature Lover Teen, which is like the most descriptive username I've ever seen on YouTube. And they ask, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout opens this summer in California. Will your next trip be to Disneyland or Disney World, where and when Avatar Land opens? Both. My answer is both. So my plan for this year is to go to Disney more regularly for the channel. We went in January. We have a trip all set up. We're going to go at the end of April, and then I would like to go to 2 more Disney parks or 2 more Disney trips. One of them I would love to do is another short like weekend trip over the summer to Disney World to check out Pandora when it opens at the Animal Kingdom. And then in the fall, I would love to go to California, not just for Disneyland, but to see more of California. I've only ever been there once. It's a pretty cool place. And that would include going to Disney's California Adventure so I could check out Mission Breakout. I feel like one of the only 5 people who's actually excited for that ride. So I feel like I owe it to Disney to get myself out there at some point to check it out. But yeah, if we're lucky and everything falls into place, I'll be going to both this year, and I'll be recording both for the channel. Our next question comes from Metaton the Magnificent, and Metaton asks, what rides would be ideal for a family with a mother and son who like roller coasters, a sister who is scared of roller coasters and says she'll go on one but chickens out, and a dad with high blood pressure? That is a very specific question. So first off, I am not a doctor, so I'm not even going to try to touch the high blood pressure question. I would say first, your dad should go to the doctor and have them tell you or tell him, what rides he should and shouldn't be going on, because I think it's important to get feedback from an actual doctor with something like that. But for the sake of this argument, let's assume he can't go on really intense stuff like roller coasters. So you're talking about 2 people who like roller coasters, and then essentially one who can't and the other one who kind of wants to but doesn't. Well, first off, I would say, for your sister who chickens out, try and ease her into thrill rides. Disney's really great about having different levels. You've got Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, you've got the Barnstormer, and these are smaller coasters that aren't as crazy. You don't have to just throw her right into Rock and Roller Coaster. But even assuming she doesn't like any of those and it's just split down the middle, half and half, I think the key for that is to just plan your fast passes in a smart way, and maybe do a little pre-planning on what you all do want to ride and what you don't. So this is what I'm thinking. First off, roller coasters, they tend to have the longer lines, so grab fast passes for that, because worst case scenario, if your dad and sister have to just sit there and wait, they'd be waiting a lot less than if you just go on standby. So there's that. But also take a look at, a list of rides and see if there's something that maybe you and your mom don't want to ride or don't care about, so that when you go on Rock and Roller Coaster, maybe, your sister and dad could go run over and check that out, so that you're both doing something at the same time so things don't get boring. I think that's really just the key to it all, is a little bit more organization on the front end, so that when the time comes to like split up or wait, that it's as short as possible, so that, everybody gets to do what they want. And, don't ever, I would say, on your sister, don't like force her to do, or like try to like pressure her into riding stuff she doesn't. I mean, everybody's different. When I was younger, I was terrified of thrill rides. I chickened out of everything, including, the Tower of Terror and roller coasters. And then eventually I built up the sort of courage to ride one, and I loved them, and I just kept going with it. And so, everybody's got to move at their own pace, but it's Disney. Either way, you're going to have fun. And our final question for this week comes from I think it's the Ancient Pie, but it's spelled Ancient Pie. And the Ancient Pie asks, or demands, do a video about if Disney ever gets boring. I mean, if I did a video about Disney getting boring, it would just be an empty video, I guess, right? No, I'm sure the question is more like, do I ever find Disney boring, or does Disney ever get boring for me? And the answer to that is no. And I think the reason why that might seem weird for people who watch the channel is you're kind of only seeing one side of me, which is the Disney side. And I'm putting out 3 videos a week. And from that perspective, it's like my life is just Disney, but it's not. There are other things. I'm a big video game fan. I mean, this channel used to be a video game thing. And there's just so much else going on in my life and everybody's life that, you get like a little bit of it through these videos every week, but there's so much outside of it. And I think that balance prevents Disney from ever getting boring. Now, I will say, because I live in New York and I don't get to go like every weekend or every other day like a local might, the parks never get boring for me, because, even at its shortest, I was, it was a matter of months between trips. And so in those months, I was able to, get excited for going again. And it's happening again. January, we booked for April. It's just gonna be a couple of months. I'll be psyched to go down there again. Might it get boring if I were to live down there and get to go every weekend? It's possible, but I think going all the way back to that first question about whether recording takes away from the experience, I think it's just all about finding a new and interesting way to experience something. You know, on this trip I got to meet a fantastic photographer. His name is Matt. He goes by Imaginography71 on Instagram. Takes gorgeous photos of the parks. And, you know, he mentioned that, you know, he likes to go down once a week and shoot photos. And I never asked him, but I don't even know if he like rides when he's down there. And I can appreciate the way he can go to the parks every week and find a new perspective to look at them. And I think that's just that's the perspective that anybody can take with Disney. You know, maybe it does get boring for you, but if it gets boring, look at it from another angle. I definitely have weeks where I'm psyched about the parks, like what's going on with the news and stuff like that. But then I'll also have weeks where I'm really excited about learning about the history. And even that changes. Sometimes it's like the Eisner era. Sometimes it's the Walt era. You know, that changes within itself. And then there are times where I just like the movies. And so having that rotation allows it to never feel old. And, you know, I think the important part is also this is all a hobby. So if it ever did get old, I would just take a break. No need to force myself into it or anybody to force themselves into, you know, being a Disney fan. You just let it come naturally. So there you have it, a bunch of great questions. I want to thank you all who have bared with me. I've switched formats like months ago, so it's been a while since I did one of these. It probably will be a little while since I do another one. I think part of the reason why I stopped doing this regularly is I wanted to give time for a lot of really good questions to come in rather than like the short and simple ones. And I'm going to probably still stick to the format where if there's like a really good discussion topic, it'll be its own video. So I'm going to mix things up. But if you have a question for me, feel free to leave it in the comments below. You can also ask me on Twitter. I'm @RobPlays. If you want to see more Disney videos like this, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button. I do 3 of them a week, and then you'll get to check out our awesome vlog series, which has been going on and just started and will continue on into the future when we went to Disney last week. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Whatever you're doing this week, make the most of it because it makes it that much better, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.